Write this down. Understanding proactive and reactive leadership. Agent of change has to do with initiating change. But you can end up being a leader who is reactive or proactive. God does not want you to be a reactive leader. To react means that something has already happened, and now you're trying to respond to it. It's too late. The church has been a reactive entity in society. They did a research on the church about 22 years ago, and they wanted to find out how far behind the church was from the progress in society. Based on their research, they concluded that the church is usually 30 to 40 years behind the world. That means by the time the church accepted radio was okay, it was too late. When television was first created, the church went against it and called it demonic. And by the time the church accepted it, the world controlled it. When they invented the internet, the church said it was from the devil. By the time the church, and they're still trying to figure it out, the world already controlled it. We are always reacting. That must change now, because God did not leave the earth in the hands of the world. He left it in the hands of his church. So we're supposed to be not reactive, but proactive. So I want to show you something. Write this down. The change option. What do I mean by the change option? Well, let's talk about change for a minute. The one thing that is guaranteed in life is what? Change. We know that. But you cannot avoid change or stop change. It's going to happen anyhow. Some of you are feeling it now. But here's the challenge. You cannot stop or avoid change. So the option is, number one, you can become a victim of change or an agent of change. That's the two options you have. You can decide, I'll just wait till it happens and then I'll suffer the consequences. Or I am going to step out and determine what happens so that I could become the one who controls the change. You and I cannot afford anymore to just wait for things to happen. In my book on change, I talk about the 4 types of humans in the world. I'll remind you of them. First, there are those who watch things happen. Second, there are those who let things happen. Third, there are those who ask, what happened? And then there's the 4th group who make things happen. That 4th group will control the world all the time. That 4th group will control your life all the time. Whoever initiates change controls your destiny. That leads me to my next point. Write it down. An agent of change initiates the change they desire. If you do not decide what happens, somebody else will. This is a tough series to even talk about, because people in the Caribbean have a culture of procrastination, timidity, and passivity. Big words, eh? We are passive. Somehow our culture got this problem. This is why we are becoming victims of our own culture. we move too late. I've been driving yesterday, going home, and I looked at those buildings going up on the cable strip. And I look at that. I don't know whether I should rejoice or weep, because I'm not sure what that means for me and my children. I really am. I look at it and I go, God, what's happening in my world here? Who controls this? As I drove past those buildings, a scripture burst in my head like a massive flood. I quote it. It's from the book of Proverbs. It says, "He who does not work his own land shall grow poor." That is in the Bible. That means if you don't decide what will happen to your own land, somebody else will. So a change agent is one who what? Initiates the change they desire. They don't wait for other people to decide to turn Hog Island into Paradise Island. That was our Hog Island. At least it was ours, even if it was a hog island. But our insight is so small. Lack of vision. We couldn't see that all you had to do was change the name of it. And now we are victims of what other people say. I had the privilege of meeting with the president, the co-president of Atlantis for 4 hours this week. Private meeting. But one of the things that impressed me during our conversation, and this happened about 48 hours ago, he's in charge of all of Atlantis. This is the guy. This is the main guy. And I found out he's from Greece. He's a Greek guy. But he lived in Las Vegas. He lived in South Africa. He lived in Dubai. He ran a number of these big, massive places. And they got him here now. And as he talked to me, he said, you know, Saul Kirsten doesn't own this anymore. He said, the company that owns this knows nothing about the Bahamians. Let me say it slow, because this is a very dangerous statement. He said, the company that owns this property in the Bahamas know nothing about the Bahamas or the Bahamians. That means they make decisions in an office without any idea of what you're going through in your local life. In other words, when you sell your soul, the one who you sold it to could sell it to somebody else who you don't know. And then he said this to me, and I don't want to cause any alarm. He says that we haven't made a profit yet. I said, you know, and he said, this is reality. They are keeping up. You might know that. Let me tell you what that means. If I invest in you, and you promise to give me return on my investment, and I give you a period to bring the return, if I don't see the return in that period, we got to talk. If you don't control the change, somebody else will. $140 people were laid off at the hotel down the street. And everybody up in arms, and everybody trying to pass blame. The decision wasn't even made here. If you don't initiate the change, somebody else will. Am I coming home? All right, take a deep breath. I want to show you something. Write this down. The mission of the church begins with a command to initiate change. You never saw this before, eh? That's why I'm so proud of Dr. Simmons this morning. He got the message. You do have an option. But if you don't take the right one, somebody else will. The mission of the church was given by Jesus Christ. And it's a command that gives you the power to initiate. It begins with the word go. Everybody say go loud. Go. Say it louder. Go. Shake the roof. Go. That's the first word he uses. Go. That means don't wait for no one to call you. Don't wait for no invitation. Don't wait for no one to motivate you. Say it loud. Go. If someone tells you go, that means you have to personally motivate yourself and get active, not reactive. Go means I start things. Where the devil, let me slap him. Let me say it again. Go means what? I start things. That's the secret. What are you waiting for? My son said something this morning, sitting here. He said, if you ain't got no group to go witness in, start one. Yes. Well, the church ain't going on outreach, so? Ain't nobody reaching the single mothers, so? Ain't nobody going to the gangs, so? What's your problem? Ain't nobody reaching the widows, so? Well, you want an invitation or something? You already got the command. What's the command? Go! If I don't go, somebody else can go. And it mightn't be who I want to go. Y'all talk to me, man, before I go. See, we always complain about what's wrong. What's wrong is because you didn't go first. We are either victims or we are agents.